So Ron DeSantis and his Florida Board of Education under fire today, which is kind of nothing new. They're always attacking Ron DeSantis for his effort to stop wokeism from infecting curriculum down in schools in Florida. The latest is he is being accused of basically saying slavery was a great thing, highly beneficial. That's not at all what they've said in the Florida education guidelines that needs to be taught in school. This is how the mainstream media reports it, that the teachers must instruct that, quote, slaves developed skills which in some instances could be used for personal benefit. Develop skills which in some instances could be used for personal benefit. Now, Kamala Harris comes out and makes an emergency trip to Florida. It was just like she did when the Tennessee Three threw their antics, in Nashville when they took the bullhorn out there. And she went out there to talk about, this is the thing that really animates her, racial disputes. She comes out and she says that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities, that there was any benefit to being subjected to this level of dehumanization. And she goes on from there. All right, she's outraged. The left is outraged. The View's outraged. Everybody's outraged at Ron DeSantis and how the Florida Board of Education could do this. Well, cue Dr. William Allen, who was on the African American History Standards work group that put together the lesson plans. A group of African Americans working on the history standards for Florida students and how slavery ought to be taught. And if you look at the full thing, and Charles C.W. Cook of National Review tweeted out a whole thread on this, I mean, it's got all the horrors of slavery. There is no whitewashing any of the horrors of slavery at all. Never mind Jim Crow and all of it. That came later. But now he's given an interview in response to what Kamala Harris and others are saying about this curriculum that they developed in the open, with everybody could see it and participate while it was being developed, and listen to him.
There's been a little bit of backlash to these standards that were put out, and like you said, that these were done in open sessions so the public could listen or watch along. What would you say to critics who say these standards have set education back?
Well, I can't answer critics whom I haven't seen or heard. The only criticism I've encountered so far is a single one that was articulated by the vice president, and which was an error. As I stated in my response to the vice president, it was categorically false. It was never said that slavery was beneficial to Africans. What was said, and anyone who reads this will see this with clarity, it is the case that Africans proved resourceful, resilient, and adaptive, and were able to develop skills and aptitudes which served to their benefit, both while enslaved and after enslavement.
It's unbelievable. When you hear the full context, what they're trying to say, they're trying to pay a compliment to the spirit of these slaves who went through such brutality but never lost their resilience, many of them, but still found a way to persevere as humans, and then post-slavery to make something out of the experience. They're not in any way trying to say it was a bed of roses. But if you were to listen to Kamala Harris, Emily, you would think that.
Yeah, and the media elevates some Black voices over other Black voices, and they've done this for years. You have white liberals in the media who, when a Black voice comports with their narrative, that's the one that must be correct and platformed. But when a Black voice disagrees with them or is aligned with Ron DeSantis, I mean, this Thomas Sowell, Clarence Thomas, these people have been going through this for decades. I don't know how the hell they put up with it, but that's the same thing. If you happen to be aligned with Ron DeSantis, then context be damned. We will take you and we will, fit it into whatever we say. Any corrections that come out of this, by the way, will not be seen. Most people will just see the story, and it will further advance this idea that the media has been selling, that Ron DeSantis is just bringing white supremacy back to Florida, which is just so stupid and absurd. But it's, again, another testament. The only reason that Kamala Harris gets away with this is because we don't have a media that holds her to standards of seriousness that she deserves to be held to. Instead, they act like partisans as well. And they go and they use Oppo research as though it's not Oppo research, as though it's just all the truth. And then they let a vice president get away with just talking out of her ass for political reasons.
Here she is, Eliana, trying to stoke the racial fuel around this issue because it benefits her politically. And like I said, this is the one thing that actually gets her animated, whether it's trying to raise money for Jacob Blake or call him a hero or raise money for BLM protesters or flying down to the Tennessee Three who hijacked that legislative proceeding, or this, where she made an unscheduled trip to Florida so she could rail on Ron DeSantis. Here she is.
And while they do this, check it out. They push forward revisionist history. Just yesterday in the state of Florida, they decided middle school students will be taught that enslaved people benefited from slavery. They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not stand for it.
She's such a liar. She's such a liar. Again, the actual sentence is slaves developed skills which in some instances could be used for personal benefit. And the preceding line, as Dr. Allen points out, talks about how the African American community was resourceful, resilient, and adaptive under the most horrific circumstances. What do you make of it?
I actually encourage your viewers and listeners to go look at the primary source document here, which is Florida State Academic Standards in Social Studies for 2023. And if you want a shortcut, just Control F for the word slavery and see if you think that the way Kamala Harris described what Florida is teaching young people is accurate, that this is a whitewashing of slavery. I think my interpretation of her comments is that they know that they are on the defensive about what kids are learning in schools. And this is their attempt to push back on it. It is to grossly distort what is actually being taught because they're losing. In the Florida standards, it includes instruction as to how slavery was used in cultures around the world, the differences and similarities between serfdom and slavery, judicial and legislative actions concerning slavery. There are 95 references to slavery in this document, and they have seized on the one that they believe can make Ron DeSantis look bad. And frankly, he should be pushing back more strongly against it than he is. But my view of this is just that these are the comments of a desperate politician.
Well, maybe I'll ask him about it. For 3 days only, cbdistillery.com is giving you an exclusive offer, and it's incredible. Right now, you can get up to 50% off everything when you use code VIP. Choose from a range of carefully formulated CBD and other plant-based solutions for relaxation, stress, sleep, and pain after physical activity, even mood and focus. They extract healing plant compounds and vital nutrients for your whole body. No artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, or sweeteners, just 100% clean ingredients. Don't miss this exclusive VIP sale and get up to 50% off your order. Visit cbdistillery.com and enter VIP. That's cbdistillery.com, enter VIP, cbdistillery.com. Not available in Idaho, Iowa, or South Dakota. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.